In October, we saw the release of the largest research project ever on universal basic income. That's UBI, right? The study's results were disappointing for advocates of the free money idea. But in short, the research showed that many people who received the income for free, by the way, reduced their hours working and increased their leisure time. Now, raise your hand if you're shocked by that. I don't believe it. The study examined 2,097 households in Compton, California. They gave around 1/3 of the households a guaranteed monthly income on average of about $487. So let's just call it $500. And they examined how recipient households acted relative to the non-recipients. And predictably, the recipients, well, their guaranteed income reduced their working hours. Well, why, you say? The researchers found that part-time workers, those who worked less than 20 hours per week, reduced their time working by 13% because of the money they got, right? The negative impacts on the labor market participation translate into negative impacts on household income. That's not a shock. And while the average monthly cash transfer amount for the treatment group was close to $500, the net impact on total monthly household income over those past 30 days, including the cash transfer of $500, really just netted out to around $92, which is not significantly different from zero. They just didn't work as much. So in short, UBI just doesn't work. My next guest talks about this stuff a lot. Please welcome to the show, Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, thanks for being on. Appreciate it. This was a big study, a huge one, probably the biggest one ever, and it really said what you and I have been talking about anyway. But given some of the things that these people and their behaviors, this universal basic income thing just does not work.
Yeah. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. So glad to be with you. Sorry, I know. So, the first thing I want to say is that we have to accept two basic fundamental rules. Okay. One is human nature, which is we are selfish creatures. If you give us an incentive to do nothing, many, many, many people will do that exact thing. Nothing. They will cut back. They will be less productive. And the study, Scott, even found that they're not spending time with their kids. They're not pursuing higher education. They're not improving. They're not, pursuing self-improvement. They're just being selfish with their time and doing whatever vice or whatever thing that they enjoy doing apart from their family, apart from improving themselves. So that is the first law we must accept, is that human nature is selfish and lazy. Well, there's people that aren't, but those are the exception, okay? The second thing that I really, really, really am so sick of, specifically with UBI, is that it is an economic program that completely ignores the law of economics. The very problem is in its name, universal. These are all test programs, Scott. These are test programs to see would this and could this work? And they're eventually, of course, doing this because they're thinking of iRobot, the rise of the machines. We will all be eventually without jobs, every single one of us, everyone except for those that run the machines, because somehow magically those people are going to be able to control the machines that control everybody else. But whatever, that's a side note. The point I'm trying to make is, when you basically outsource the human capacity to contribute productively to society, then what do you do with them? So now we're going into the matrix. Now we're going to basically our capacity to actually be valuable to the economic environment is through our energy or something else, but it's not what we're doing right now currently. And you have to go to some level of universal basic income. But the second that you lose your autonomy of production of capital to society, then the government is in control and we are all just beholden to them.
I've seen a lot of, you're right, and I've seen stuff written about it, and you're not talking kooky talk here, because there have been some studies saying that, hey, when we get to these avatars or everybody's got their own robot, there's a Rebecca Walser robot, there's a Scott Shellady robot, well, they'll do the work and we'll just get the universal basic income. I mean, that's not going to work out. That's not going to work. I mean, everybody that believes in this idea of free money, it's a virtue signal, number one. And number two, you're right, it doesn't follow the laws of economics. But number two, they'd also say that the higher the minimum wage, the more wealthier society will be. So we should just make it $100 an hour, right? Because they don't understand really what they're saying, and they don't understand the laws of economics.
Well, that's exactly my point. And I'm sorry, it was such a long tangent. I didn't really close the point. But what I want to say is it is an economic hamster wheel. If you put the hamsters on the wheel and start putting the money to run them and spin them, guess what? The money comes from over here, right? The money's coming from over here to go over here. But someone's got to print the money over here. So the second we start printing the money to come over here to feed the little rats on the hamster wheel that are doing nothing with their time and just totally worthless, doing nothing with their life, which, I mean, we're going to talk about depression and mental lack of productivity. What's my life about? What am I worth? What's going on here? But we forget all that. The government produces nothing, Scott. They simply redistribute it. They just redistribute what other productive people in private society are actually doing. And so if we have a government just printing money, that is the definition of hyperinflation. You cannot print enough to pay enough to keep printing more to pay more, because the way the money gets printed is through taxation. So we're going to give the people the money, then take it back from them to pay the taxes to turn around and print more money to give them. It is a hamster wheel. It is an economic quagmire that does not work. Let's stop pretending it does. You cannot see that, Scott, until you roll it out to the whole of society. Because you can do your little test case in one little city in California all you want, but if the rest of the people around you don't get universal basic income, it's not a true test, is it?
No, you're exactly right. And even though they gave it to just little people in Compton, California, it didn't work there either. And there's something about the human psyche that wants to feel valued and wants to do something and have something made at the end of the day. Like, here's what I made at work today, or here's what I accomplished. And just getting something for free all the time slowly but surely erodes at your moral, your inner being. And I think that that's something that they really don't ever put into those equations. It sounds good. It's a virtue signal. But in the end, it doesn't work.
It sounds bad. It's economically unviable. And we are not put on this earth to eat potato chips and watch Netflix series. We have an internal flame, a desire to make our mark, leave our mark on this world. And this is just another way to snuff out the uniqueness of the human person as a created being by a higher power. It's as simple as that.
You're right. Exactly right. And if we were put on this earth for Netflix, it would be Ruffles for me, not just potato chips. But anyway. I thank you for being on, Rebecca. You're awesome. Rebecca Walser, CEO of Walser Wealth Management in